Hello, hello. Okay, are we live? Yes, we are. Okay. Um, okay, this is not my normal Sunday live, but President Bukele just pulled a rabbit out of his hat and and said, "Here's a late Christmas present for everybody in El Salvador." So, so yeah. So instead of wait till next Sunday, I'm like, okay, we need to talk about this now because this is kind of a big little bomb, and I need to explain this especially to foreigners because this channel is it's in English, it's not in Spanish. So my channel is directed towards diaspora, English speaking foreigner people that are interested in El Salvador, because I am Jenny Ari, la gringa salvadoreña, and I help foreigners know what life is like in El Salvador, and I help you come and integrate into Salvadoran life. Yeah, and that's what I do. And I have a business with my husband where we do hosting and we help you with all that transition because it's a lot of work to move to a foreign country. So, this is what happened. President Bukele all of a sudden called a press conference and he said, and don't worry, I have a link to his press conference in the description below, that, hi, Salvador, where he sat there and he said, okay, here's the deal. Way back after he got elected for the second time, he said, my focus this time around is the economy. And I have another 6-phase plan. That's like his, I think that's like his thing is he likes 6-phase plans. That's just his thing. He had a 6-phase protection plan and now he's got a 6-phase economic plan. So in the first, and if you go back into his speeches, it's the speech where he's got like the ocean behind him, where he was actually kind of explaining what he was going to do and how he was approaching his economic plan. And first, in the beginning of the speech, he references that, and he says, "Hi there, Wilbur," and he says, "Look, when you're trying to improve the economy, you have the macro economy and you have the micro economy. And the micro economy is like family economy. It's like making sure that families can buy what they need to buy, that they can, get along and have their basic needs met and be more or less, happy while making sure the little micro economy around the family, around the community is good and happy and healthy. But at the same time, you have the macro economy. And the macro economy is when it comes to like GDP, when it comes to businesses, getting new businesses to come in, exports, imports, the much larger scale economics and money trades and going back and forth, loans and national debt, all that kind of stuff. So he explained really well. If you haven't seen his speech, go back and look for it. It was right after his reelection, because that's one of the things I really like about President Bukele, just my opinion of him as a leader, just my personal opinion. I do not promote or go either which way or make any comments about the government. I am just talking about him as a leader. Like, I like how he explains very simply what can be very complex subjects. I like how he never talks down to his people, and he always tries to help them. He tries to educate and help them understand why he's doing what he's doing. And that, for anyone who's a leader servant, that's key. That's key. You want people, if you're leading people, you want them to, yes, think that, you're a pretty decent person and that you're pretty smart and you know what you're doing. But at the same time, you don't want to talk down to them. And I don't feel like, I don't know, just his vibe. He doesn't talk down to his people at all. So in this talk, he explains a little bit about the macroeconomics, about how he's trying to bring in technology and industries and more jobs, and how he's trying to like invest in El Salvador, trying to find more exports and start more businesses so there can be more jobs for Salvadorans, because if there's more jobs for Salvadorans, then the wages will go up for everybody. And that helping the wages go up and helping more businesses start is a great way to get your economy going. But it takes time. It takes a lot of time to get those businesses up and running and to get those salaries going up due to skilled labor and education and things like that. And what happens is, as those are in that time frame that these are being built, if the microeconomy is not taken care of, the people kind of rise up and they get sick of barely getting by and living on peanuts. And the people will rise up and say, okay, if the macro and the big business head honchos say, let them eat cake, then then the people will rise up and say, oh yeah, well, we'll take your cake. And and then it doesn't go anywhere and it doesn't get any farther. And then the businesses all go away because they're like, nope, this is not a stable country. So, so what he said in his economic plan, he said, look, in this 6-part economic plan, he's like, we need to help the microeconomy until the wages and the jobs and the natural progression is there to help people help themselves. And so he said, one, you got to make sure your people can eat. If the people can't eat, then you have that's recipe number one for a revolution, right? So he came in and he started doing these agromercados. Okay, he started making these wholesale mercado places that were run by private. They're put on by the government, but they're run in private entities, but they're kind of for a limited time, and it's a kind of a way to make sure that there's no price gouging. And he let go of the tariffs on basic food, not like peanut butter. No, peanut butter, you're gonna have a tariff on peanut butter, okay? But like basic food elements that are coming out from outside coming in, those ones do not have any tariffs because he wants to make sure his people can eat. That big important part of microeconomy, okay? And so then I guess part of this next step is what he announced the other night, and that was that in El Salvador, is that the government is going to cover the electricity bill and the water bill of Salvadoran residential households up to $80 in electricity and up to, hi Carlos, and up to $30 of their water bill for the month of January. And you're like, okay, wait, whoa. Giving out freebies, this is typically a bad thing. A bad sign in economies when the government's just kind of giving out freebies. Like, wait, what's going on? Where's the money coming from? But you need to understand a little bit about El Salvador society before you're too quick to judge. Number one, in El Salvador society, December is okay, it's the month of vacations, okay? You can't get anybody to work in December. It's just, everybody's off and everybody is spending a ton of money. It's all about family. It's all about loving life. It's all about what's important in life, being with your family, sharing good times together, sharing good food together. It's a lot of dancing, a whole lot of cumbia. And so as he explains in the beginning of the speech, it's like, usually you go from, biweekly paycheck to biweekly paycheck. But in December, people usually spend their paycheck before they get it at the end of December. Because, December is just an expensive month. Okay. Now, the thing you have to understand about El Salvador is that El Salvador, their school year starts at the end of January. Okay. The end of January, beginning of February. And then their school year ends the beginning of November. Okay. So their summer break is pretty much November, December, January. Okay. So they have been all the teachers have been out, all the kids have been out. Their summer break time is that time. So what happens is in January, they've spent a lot of their money in December, and then in January they got to go in and they've got to buy a lot of the supplies for school. Now, granted, if they're in a public school, they're not going to have to pay for their uniforms, and they're not going to have to pay for their shoes because in public schools those things are provided. But um but you still have extra things that you have to pay for. You have to buy paper, you have to buy pencils, you have to buy, there's just going back to school cost. And so January takes a real big hit in the economy in El Salvador because of that double whammy of the once a year expenses of buying school supplies, and at the same time having the month of December be like the most costly month. So what he's done as far as saying, look, I'm going to cover your light and your water for 95% of the households of El Salvador. Um, that is made in the month of January. Not that the bill that they get in January is going to be covered, but the bill that they get in February is going to be covered because, the stuff you use up in January, you get your bill in February, right? So he said the government is going to take care of that. It won't even show up in the bill. He's not giving the people money. He's saying it's not going to show up in the bill. You'll have like a credit if, if it's in there. So, so that's what he's doing. And why is he doing it? Is helping the economy kind of not take such a big dip, you could say, and try to help out a lot of the households that are struggling because things are a lot more expensive because a lot more companies and a lot of people are moving into El Salvador. And so supply and demand, hello, housing prices have definitely doubled, definitely doubled in the past 2 or 3 years. And the salaries are going up. At least salaries I've seen have increased some, but not enough to match, the much higher costs. And so anyway, so yeah, so he's giving this, um, the government is paying this light and this water bill to help the majority of the country. Now, what happens if you spend more than $80 in your electricity bill? Okay, then uh then obviously you got enough money to cover that because that's a lot of electricity. You are like running your AC like all the time. That's not typical in El Salvador. Um and if you I can't even imagine spending over $30 in water. Like typical water bill in San Sal is like $5, maybe $10 is the water bill in San Sal. Um, so I don't even know how somebody would spend $30. Maybe they have a pool with a whole lot of evaporation. I don't know. Anyway, um, but what he's saying is like, look, you're not the 95% if you're spending more than that and you can cover your bills. But it's only for the January bills, number one. Number two, I don't, and some people are like, yeah, but where's the money coming from? I don't know where the money's coming from. Probably could come from Bitcoin. Man, he's he's made bank on Bitcoin. Maybe some of the proceeds of Bitcoin is what is going to pay for this water and electric bill. But he's trying to bridge that gap between the micro and the macro growing at different rates. Um, and I don't know if he's going to do it again, if this is going to be an every January thing or not. I wouldn't think so because a lot of his plans, he usually puts a time limit, which is key to other countries. He puts a time limit on the things that he passes. He says, okay, we're going to do this. And then in 5 years, I'm going to have the government and the people in charge revisit and see if we still need this or not, which is unheard of. Um, at least in my country, where where I grew up, yeah, nah, they put something on the books, it was there for life, and it just got more and more and more top heavy. So he's big on his programs saying, okay, this is a life cycle. At the end of the life cycle, this needs to be reviewed and see if it's still efficace, if it's still effective or not. So, I mean, I think it would be, yeah, I could see it just being this January, and not necessarily happening again because, also we're humans. We tend to use and abuse. So I can definitely see some people say, "Oh, I'm on a plan. I don't have to pay, I don't have to pay, I'm going to get this big reduction on my water bill next January. I'm going to live it up," or something like that. But that's risky too because you don't know when your bill's gonna hit 80 bucks. I mean, how do you know? Like, well, I'll run my AC double instead of the normal. That's quite the Russian roulette to be running, saying, "Oh, I'm gonna, you know, use up all these utilities so I can max out my governmental benefit." That's not a wise plan. So yeah, that's about that's kind of what he put forth in live. Now, after that, he said, "Okay, now I will open up and I will take some questions from the press." And the questions from the press were questions about mining, and there were questions, especially his mining question. You got to look that one up. I love how he answered his mining question about people saying, "But what about all this mining and it's polluting the rivers and all this stuff." And he's like, "Wait a minute. So if mining is illegal in El Salvador, and yet all these people are publicizing saying mining pollutes the rivers, then the pollution can't be coming from the mining because there is no mining in El Salvador. So what's your point?" And I think it's very entertaining how he answers that question. But he does talk a lot about the pollution that is in the rivers and how he's planning on using the money from that the government gets from the mining and maybe some of the Bitcoin money that the government made, and he's using part of the money that he got from the US to clean up. Right now, they're cleaning up Lake Coatepeque, and they're going to the money from the US. They're going to clean up Rio Limpa. But his biggest thing he emphasizes, he's like, "Look, the rivers are terrible, and there's no mining right now." And he's like, "So the problem that we need to fix isn't necessarily the mining problem. The problem is cleaning up the rivers and changing our habits so that we don't make them dirty again, because they got dirty and polluted even before the mining got here." And he's got a point. So I really like how he addresses that. So if you have time, go and check that out. He also addressed things like um the new drunk the new traffic laws and how they're actually coming down and enforcing traffic laws. And if you do not know this, go back to my last Sunday Live video and watch where it says Bitcoin, booze, and bad driving. Okay, that's what the title says about the new traffic laws, because yeah, they have zero alcohol tolerance for drivers. Yeah, zero. So in other words, if you drink, you just don't drive. Period. Um, and so that's kind of a big change. And they're starting to enforce a lot more the speed limits, and they've got photo cameras out there to take pictures of you speeding. And so he addresses some of those changes and the complaints that have come out about that. Let's see. Hi. How about Cool Kid says, "Hi there." Hi, Cool Kid. Um, let's see. Amanda says, "Hi, how about volcanoes there? Just wondering." Um, the volcanoes, we do have geothermal. We do have some geothermal energy plants, and Um, let's see. We've got a hydroelectric plant that is Salvadoran owned and operated. We've got some geothermal plants, but percentage wise, I think most of the energy and stuff comes from, I think, gas and maybe outside. Um, I know they're looking to do a nuclear plant. I really hope they do a nuclear plant, but it needs to be a Salvadoran owned nuclear plant because, again, if we get the electricity from outside, then we're just pumping money outside. So that would be really cool. But they do tap into a few volcanoes. Um, let's see. Hi, Christy. People were saying mining was causing kidney disease when there is no mining now, but there's a lot of kidney disease. Yep, yep. See, Charity reminds she saw the exact details of just like, yeah, well, there's so much kidney disease, and the mining's going to cause that. And it's like, but there's no mining, so it's something else that's causing the kidney disease. Mining, it could make it worse, but you can't say it is worse with it when it's not there yet. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, and when it comes to kidney disease, wow, that's drinking a lot more water and a lot less salt and anyway, but definitely purifying the water is a good thing. And if you're coming down to El Salvador, always the water is not drinkable. Don't drink the water. Make sure you buy bottled water or you get a really good water filter installed underneath. Let's see what else. Cool Kid says the majority of Salvadorans are very happy that they won't pay the electricity and water bill for the month of January. Yes. Yes. Salvadorans are like, whoop, whoop, yay, love our Prezi. Yeah, because it will greatly bless and help many people. And I hope the Salvadorans will not take that money and say, woohoo, I don't have to spend this on electricity and water. Let's go get some, let's go get some more Pilsner. Or Pilsner, sorry. I'm going to go. Sorry, I call it Pilsner because I think it smells like it. But anyway, but I'm just saying, Salvadorans, okay, he did this. Take this money. If you are struggling, take this money, like use it wisely. Please don't. I mean, you should have like partied out in December. Take this money, invest it in yourself, invest it in the future. Because the other big thing with macroeconomies, the other big announcement is that Tether, a very big tech company, is coming and going to base their headquarters in El Salvador. Guess what Tether is going to need? It needs workers that know tech. Okay. And the president, I know this because my sobrino, my nephew, my husband and I kind of forced him to go and take some of these tech classes. The government is offering programming and tech classes for like almost free or just super cheap because they're trying to provide all these classes for the youth of El Salvador to go to, so these companies will have people that can work there, so they can employ you, so they can pay you awesome wages. Tech wages pay way more. Do not go to the university and go like, okay, but I love psychology. I do too. Okay. Or I love, studying, this kind of thing, or the philosophy, or I love my art or something like that. Honey, I'm going to talk to you like you're my child. Okay. That's what I tell my kids all the time. I love that you have passion, but get something that pays the bills first. Then it can pay for your passion. And that should be that's the Salvadoran way. Salvadorans do not live, they don't live to work. Salvadorans work to live. Once they've made enough for what they need for living, they're usually done. They're not like crazy overambitious like gringos. They're just like, oh no, I need more. I need more money. No. They have a much better work-life balance. Okay. So on that note, if you know computer science, programming, tech, internet. If you know tech, you will be so competitive on a global scale. You will be paid way more than people graduating from college with psychology degrees, with every other practically every other degree you can come out of. And you don't even need to go to university for a lot of these computer programming and tech skills. And you know what? My sobrino that is in this class that we kind of forced him to take, he said, like, the class isn't even that full. It's not even that full. And so all I'm saying is give it a try, okay? If you're Salvadoran and your kid, or heck, if you're under 40, go take some classes, learn some programming because it will pay for a lot less. You can work a lot less hours and get paid a whole lot more if you have that kind of training and those kind of skills. Because trust me, the market is flooded with lawyers. There are so many lawyers in El Salvador. It's not even funny. And there are so many like psychology majors. It's not even funny, honey. Okay. Go and get something that's going to pay. And then once you're okay, your family's okay, use the rest of that to follow your passion, to study all the psychology you want, to make all the art you want, to be a wonderful musician that is not starving and waiting for their next gig. Just saying. Let's see. Alan says, this is wonderful. Power bill assistance. Our family just got back from through a 3-week vacation. We will retire soon. So looking forward to that. By the way, we love you in Reno, Nevada. My spouse is from San Salvador. That's cool. That's awesome. Thanks, Art. Thanks, Alan. My sister lives in Fallon, Nevada. You actually know where that is. No one else, I think, in the world knows where that is. But let's see. The Salvadoran people have the best president. He is a smart guy. I gotta say that. He is a smart guy. That is for sure. I think that's it. Yeah, we're about at 30 minutes. That's all I got to say for tonight. And that's the very belated Christmas present that President Bukele gave to the Salvadoran people. And I'm excited about it because, hey, electricity bill. Thank you, President Bukele. Muchísimas gracias por todo. And I promise to take the money that I save and invest it more in El Salvador because I would love to get another assistant. I just hired one of my first employees. Speaking about how that trickle down happens, I started a business in El Salvador. We hired our first employee, and hello, we're looking to hire another one too because he is doing so awesome. So we're at the point where we're either going to raise his salary to match all the work that he's doing, or if he doesn't want to do that much work, we just hire 2 people to do the work. There's more than one way to skin a cat. So that's it, because that's how economies grow, and that's how the country grows, and that's how everybody rises up together. I am Jenny Adi, shining my light so you can shine yours. And I will see you guys. I will try and get on Sunday, but I'm going to be doing a relocation tour. So if I'm not on, don't skewer me over it. And if you are excited or thinking about coming to El Salvador or thinking maybe El Salvador is for you, check out Livinlikealocal, where you can find our hosting packages and our relocation tours and legal services. So you can know what you can do and what you can't do and how you can make an awesome future in El Salvador. That's it. Bye-bye.